I would like to introduce the second moderator, who will be touch on the rising tides of experiential travel, and the moderator is Xinyi, editor of TTG Asia Media. She's going to introduce you to the panelists. Xinyi, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Wow, what a wonderful breakfast. Very serious topic, right? So right now, we will move to a more engaging topic, I hope. Equally engaging, so we had a very hearty breakfast just now. So let's move on to a lighter topic, I hope, which I'm sure all of you have some kind of experiences with, whether through your own personal travels or through your own corporate travel, for instance. So without further ado, let me welcome my panelists. So we have Dean Schreiber, CEO of Oakwood, Managing Director, Oakwood Asia Pacific. So please welcome. And second gentleman, Parin Mehta, who is the Managing Director at Airbnb Experiences Asia Pacific. And last but not least, Dan Panier, Senior Regional Manager, TripAdvisor Experiences. Yeah. Okay. So welcome. Yeah, so we had a very interesting and engaging talk earlier. So if you want to know the business insights, of course, Economics is the publication. But if you want to measure the temperature or know the state of affairs in the Asia Pac travel industry, TTG Asia will be the publication. So we have a number of titles too. So do subscribe to us. Right, okay. Again, we will be, a quick housekeeping. So we have questions. We are conducting a poll first. So please use Slido at any time to post your questions. And right now, to assess the temperature of what you view as experiential travel, we have a first question. So, do you think you have benefited from the rise in experiential travel? What is this whole thing about experiential travel about? So can we just have a quick poll and see what's your stand on this? Yeah. Wow. So okay, looks like, yes, absolutely. So it's a big trend, something that we have to watch out for. Okay, come on, let's get the numbers up a bit. Interesting, so we actually have responses to all of that, including, what's that? Okay, I think we have a pretty good understanding, pretty good gauge of what the audience is thinking. So let me get this started. So Dean, I'm sure you guys are all purveyors of experiences. So what's your take on experiential travel? Is this something new, something we have to watch out for, or has it always been around?
Well, I would have gone for the third item, the one that you bleeped out a bit there.
Because, the third one? Which one was that, the marketing bluff?
Yeah, I think so, because what did we call experiential travel before we labelled it experiential travel? It's been around. People have always wanted to travel and experience things. I think we've just put a label on it, and I think it's been fueled by the fact that we have more access to information. We make decisions based on Instagram posts or on Netflix shows or even on TV shows like Game of Thrones. We decide we all want to go to Croatia suddenly. I think it's been around, and I certainly know in the hospitality industry we've been wanting to provide experiential or experiences, live like a local. It's been around, so I think it's a bit of hype.
Okay, I'm sure Parin and Dan they definitely think differently because they have experiences in their titles some more. So what's your take on that, Parin?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just introduce Airbnb quickly. Our company mission is to help anyone belong anywhere, and the community that we have is central to everything we do. So we have guests and hosts, and I think Andrew made a really important point about this segment called Globally Curious, which we're increasingly seeing. So I think, as to the kind of Dean's point, yes, this segment's always been around, but I think there's been some important changes in the last few years that have really accelerated this. So going back to the community on the guest side, and especially in Asia, there's been three big trends on the technology side around people becoming more familiar with messaging, payments, e-commerce. And then on the host side, which are the everyday people who provide some of these experiences, there's a greater demand for insider access and hospitality and uniqueness. And it really boils down to the fact that people want to brag about what they're doing and tell all their friends about it. So yes, I think it's something that's been around, but I think we'll see it accelerate even further in the coming years.
Dan, what do you think? Is it something?
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. So I'm Dan from TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor also own a company called Viator. We were the first in tours and activities. We call it travel with an insider. So we started selling on tours and activities online back in 1995. I think everyone thought we were a bit crazy at the time, but certainly it's a very hot subject right now. Mm-hmm. But I think the two guys here are right. Pretty much lots of changes happened over the last few years where low-cost airlines are making everything so much more accessible, and they're selling to more diverse cities. You've also got companies like TripAdvisor, Airbnb that build up your communities. TripAdvisor, as an example, has 490 million viewers. We have 200 people posting reviews every minute. So the community is bringing experiences much closer to people sitting at home, and people can build up their experiences from there.
Right. So obviously, I mean, we have seen the experiences is here to stay. I mean, we are all talking about experiences here right now. Okay, let's take a deeper look at what each of these respective companies are doing in terms of, I mean, being the purveyors of experiences. I mean, I don't think they are still doing things, you know, hotel rooms are no longer just a hotel room, or a tour is no longer a tour, that simply. So maybe we'll just have a quick look at what each of these companies are doing in terms, I mean, to address the whole trend of experiential travel. Can we just start with Dean? Can we have the slides? A quick slide, yeah.
Well, look, I think our customers certainly demand that we infuse. Pardon the pun with the gin infused in there, but that we infuse some of the culinary nuances of a local culture, or we provide a different type of art in the room. I think we want guests to wake up and know which country they're in. So we look at making sure that we give an experience in terms of the design. I think one of the things we did is, I'm a gin drinker. I think when I go to a new country, I like to taste the gin of that particular country. So we've done in our properties here now, Oakwood Premier now, our general managers are sitting over at the table, introduced a very, very locally distilled gin here in Singapore. And we provide that on our cocktail cart that we take to the guest room.
So this is actually driven by your own experience?
This is driven by an experience,
because you're a gin drinker, so you want to bring it to your guests.
You don't want to just, I hope none of the liquor suppliers are here today, but we just don't want to have Bombay gin and the other gins that are around, Gordon's gin. We want to try something different, and I think a guest wants to try something different. So we have a local distillery here, and not only do we provide the gin in our cocktail cart, we take that to the room, but we also organise gin tours of the distillery for the customer. So that's kind of where we're going, not just with gin, but with food, with design. We try to have a local experience, but we've always done that. It's nothing new.
Right. So wow, you're bringing even a gin to the rooms. So how about Parin? What do we see at Airbnb Experiences? I mean, you guys are the first, to sort of use the term, living like a local. So how is it being seen now in the experiences unit of Airbnb?
Yeah, we launched this business about 3 years ago. We started in a very small number of cities, and since then we've expanded very quickly. And I think initially people were very curious about this idea of experiences, but frankly they were a bit confused about what it really meant. And so the evolution we've made recently, which will be a big focus for us going forward, is really thinking about categories. And the reason this is really interesting is for the guests, there's existing communities of people offline who are interested in very specific things. So you can see, if we go into the next slide, we've launched a recent category around adventures and one around animals as well, and we'll expect to do more categories coming up. For the host, this is really important as well because they have a unique expertise or insight that maybe no one else can provide. So to give you an example, you can do a surf lesson with a world champion on the platform, or you can cook with a renowned chef on the platform. And so I think going forward, as we get deeper into these categories, there'll be much more excitement for both the guests and the host because they can really connect about things that they're very passionate about.
So do you mean that anyone can be the host on Airbnb? Like, wow. So what kind of interest? Do you need anything to, how do you engage then? I mean, what's so special that you need to be a host? Like, for instance, I understand that, Parin, you're also a coach, right? You offer coaching lessons on Airbnb too. How does that work?
Yeah, so we keep the bar really, really high because something we are obsessed about is quality. So over 90% of the experiences on the platform get more than a 5-star review, but there's really 3 things we're looking for from hosts. One is insider access, so can you provide something that most other people cannot provide? The other one is around quality. Can you provide something that people really value? And then the final thing, which I think is probably something the world needs now more than ever, is really this idea of hospitality or human connection. So we don't have experiences on the platform where there is not a human host. The human host is a vital part of it.
Right. How about Dan? So what is about TripAdvisor about? I mean, is it just like review sites, or is it more than that right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So TripAdvisor obviously has been around now for quite some time, so we're constantly having to evolve our website and really we've made it a fantastic experience for all of our viewers for 20 years, but we obviously have to evolve and stay relevant, and we're doing that a lot already, and we're making ways to plan your trip online. You can share it with your friends, you can get recommendations from your friendship group. Also introducing functionality that enables users to plan a trip more holistically, and expanding bookability across our platforms as well. So we've obviously got all the different pillars. We've got flights, we've got hotels and experiences. So really working through that and making our platform more relevant today. Another thing that we've done a lot of over the last few years, we've had to change our platform for suppliers to work on to introduce more structured data. Which really helps us give customers what they want at the right time, and also mapping as well. Mapping has been a big part of what we do. We've got a few examples here of what you can do, where things are, planning your trip, your diary, and then commenting your friends, like I said before. So, really it's about evolving our website, making sure it's relevant for the next 20 years. Maybe not that long, but...
Right. So then, how are you different from Airbnb Experiences then? I mean, what's the key differentiator between the two of you?
So very different. As I say, we've been around a long time. We sell activities far and wide. We've been in every kind of city for a very long time. I guess the major change is that perhaps in some cases the Airbnbs have got more specialized only activities, whereas we've got the widespread, but also we've got products that are available every day, which is probably the main difference.
So for you, basically, we are more like a collection of tour operators, where tour operators and DMCs, then they could put up their tours.
Yep.
Whereas for Airbnb, it would be more about having your local experiences led by local guides, local hosts.
So we have a few of them as well, but that's definitely, Parin can disagree maybe, but that's the main difference. But also I should bring in as well that we also distribute through key partners as well. There's a long list of key partners that we work with, so it could be anyone from a backpacker group to a cruise company that sells cruises. So we really do have that wide breadth of product, which we should always have something to fit somebody.
Right. So how is this whole wave of experiential travel, of travelers wanting to engage deeper on a deeper level, more personal level, changing or impacting your business then? How are you changing to meet this whole trend?
So really going back to the slides here and just changing the website and making it a deeper connection, I think is probably the major thing. But also we are also changing our categories as well to ensure that we stay relevant and maybe
the categories, like for instance,
recently we've introducing more multi-day trips and cruise companies as well, categories that we are introducing.
So what about Dean? Like, how has the whole idea of wanting to immerse in your local destination changed the way that hotel rooms are conceived? For instance, are there any changes?
Well, like I said earlier, I think one of the things that we are very conscious of when we design our rooms is that that you do wake up and you know which city you're in. I mean, that's key. It's I think that at least there should be some local look and feel and touch to the furnishings and the art and what's on the TV. I think what we're also doing is that to Dan's point about relevance, we want to remain relevant because not everybody has the same expectation or has the same desire when they come and stay in a property. So, some want to be immersed, some want to sit on their bed and have a cheeseburger, at 3 o'clock in the morning watching TV. So we try to be relevant and we try not to put restrictions on our customers. So a lot of our properties now, we're doing away with maybe the restaurants. We're offering a more accessibility to the local food culture, fueled by the fact that there's Deliveroo's and the Uber Eats and all the delivery companies. So we're letting that food come to the property. Now we don't necessarily let the delivery go to the room. But we'll make it more convenient for a customer to be able to experience everything that's happening in the city. And of course, going back to the hosts and everything, From the day, I think we're the second oldest profession, but our concierge is the guru of the city. He knows everything there is about the city. He's the oracle of what's happening, and we make sure that he stays relevant with all the information.
Good, but that's an interesting question. What is experiential to you may not be experiential to me. So how do you define that then? So how do you say relevance? Well, how do you judge relevance then?
Well, we listen to our customers and we give them what they want, not what we want them to have. So we spend a lot of time. We're lucky in our company. We're Oakwood. Obviously, we have a longer length of stay. Our average length of stay around the globe is 45 days. So we get to know our customer a little bit more intimately. We listen to them from the time they arrive, and they can engage with us a lot more. They're not just in for one night or 2 nights, and we, in some cases, never get to see them. Our customers are very close to our staff, and if somebody wants to go and do a special tour to find where to do the best boutique, or where the best chicken rice is in town, or who's got, where's the secret temple or the best kept secrets, we at least have a chance to talk to them and tailor and customize that experience for them.
Right.
And we use these guys too to list, to understand what's happening in the industry. I mean,
Right,
TripAdvisor, of course, has great lists, and MBA has great hosts. So.
But for Parin then, so for Dean obviously the guests are longer staying. But for Airbnb, what kind of profile are you getting? What are the kind of guests that actually use Airbnb Experiences services?
Yeah, it's a real mixture. I think the benefit we have is being the second business at Airbnb. We have this rich set of data about people who are using the homes business already today. So we can understand a lot just by asking our existing hosts, of which we have about 7 million, what they'd like to see on the platform. And we see that a lot of those people who are hosting a home also go on to host an experience, or a lot of people who are staying in a home go on to become a guest on an experience. And then you see people who take an experience also become hosts, and you see people who are hosting an experience also become guests.
So these are the converts already. These are the people who are already into the whole experiential travel thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the bigger point here is they're part of our global community, and we spend a lot of time face-to-face with members of our community. So we'll do regular events with guests to find out exactly what they want to see on the platform. And we'll spend a lot of time with hosts in person on training, education, and helping them understand what guests are looking for.
Right. So Parin, is this just a very millennial thing? The desire to want to experience a destination? Is it restricted to the millennials only? What are you seeing?
It's pretty broad. I think a lot of things might start with an early adopter segment, but one of the fastest growing segments we've seen is Generation Z. One of our fastest growing groups in Asia, growing more than 3x year on year. But also to the point earlier around Generation Alpha, I think is really important. And just kind of going back to our company mission of belonging, people are often looking to belong as a family unit when they go on a trip together, and they take an experience as a way to bond. And so you'll typically see that the person who books the experience might not be the one who's most excited about it. There might be someone else in the family, whether it's a grandparent or a child, who really enjoys it and then goes on to be someone who recommends next time that they take an experience. So we're seeing good growth across all sectors, but Generation Z is the one that we're really seeing growing very fast.
Generation. Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, I have 2 kids at home, 2 young kids, and they are already trying to drive the direction of our family travel. That's scary, huh? Growing forces of travel. I'm sure you all have some experiences too, because, to our panelists, I also have young kids at home. So for Dan, how about, you look across Asia Pacific. Are there any differences then in terms of the interest in experiential travel across Asia Pacific? Does any particular market stand out?
I don't think so. I think we all just do experiential travel a little bit differently. We're growing across our markets, but probably above 40. But yeah, the spread is very fair across the markets. It's quite tough for us to kind of say, because again, we kind of going back to the fact that we have products that are perfect for backpackers, and then they're also perfect for the cruise line as well. So taking China as well, of course, we know that they are doing less package holidays for sure. That's one difference. That's obviously been happening for quite some time now. Everyone's just getting a lot more competent about booking their individual travel on their own.
Right. So you are seeing more and more people booking travel online, including tours and activities or experiences. So which are the growth markets for you then? Is there any particular market? Just now we heard a lot of gloom, a kind of a gloomy outlook on the business sector. But which are the growth markets for you then in Asia Pacific?
Yeah, so Asia is a market that we've been trying to grow quite well. We're having some success in some areas. Singapore is doing well for us. Indonesia, Philippines are also strong markets. But being an American company originating from originally Australia, they are still our strongest markets by a long way. UK, Europe as well are also strong markets. So heavily kind of focused over there, but we are growing into the Asian market too.
Mm-hmm. How about Dean? Like, do you see any difference in, between, because you're probably seeing quite a fair number of people who stay in service apartments who are staying longer. So are there any differences between the leisure travelers and the corporate travelers in terms of what they want in experiential travel?
Well, definitely, I think, and that's a good point. What do you do if you mix a millennial with a Gen A with a? I mean, I don't know who you cater for anymore. So I think the business traveler has certain expectations. What I think we're seeing. And what we like is that you have a business traveler that might now start to extend his stay an extra day to take in something that he's seen online. And I think that's the exciting part where we're getting sort of an extra day of travel, certainly in the short stay piece, and maybe the family joining, or the wife or the spouse or the husband joining with the business traveller to be part of that experience, because they've seen something, they want to experience something in the world. So that for us is a really growth sector. In terms of the leisure market, that's a growing market in our sector. We're seeing more people stay in longer stays in the serviced apartments than we have in the past. So that's also exciting for us.
So leisure is definitely a segment that we have to look out for.
Leisure is definitely.
So it's no longer a buzzword.
And again, I think Dan made the point earlier. Airlines are reaching more locations, and I think it's we heard our sector is a strong sector to be in. So
that's great to know. So about Parin, so is leisure? I mean, are leisure travelers a key core target for Airbnb Experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've invested a lot in our Airbnb for Work segment, which is really helping business travelers who, by the way, are real human beings as well, with interests and passions and feelings. And so what we tend to see is really around this growth of categories. We see a lot of business travelers who will tag on an extra evening or a day to go and do something that they're really interested in. So just to give you my own example, I have a young family, I travel a lot for work, I don't have a lot of time for myself, but every city I go to, I'll go and find I'm quite a keen boxer, and I used to do a lot of judo. So in every city I go to, I'll go and find a martial arts experience to take, whether it's kendo in Japan or Muay Thai in Thailand, or whether it's going to do Krav Maga in the US, but that allows you to kind of mix that business trip with something that you're personally passionate about as well.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I'm exactly the same. So where possible, the family can come over and join me on perhaps a business trip, which is great. I'm the same apart from the Muay Thai and the boxing. But yeah, certainly get out there and do what I can to experience the destination.
Right. So for sure, I mean, we are seeing a lot of opportunities there. So what kind of opportunities do you expect then as experiential travel becomes the norm? All of us, when we go travel now, we expect some kind of engagement, whether it's the hotel room that speaks to us, for instance, or even an experience, like, eating at a restaurant is a kind of experience. So what kind of opportunities do you see there? For them,
Yeah, within our space, I see still really big opportunities in improving what we do online as well, and connectivity. So we literally see people these days that just wake up in their hotel room, wonder what they're going to do for the day, and they're going on our app. So really it's about trying to ensure that everything's bookable at short notice as possible. I think at TripAdvisor we have a big part to play in that, in telling our suppliers what consumers are looking for. We can see in some countries that they adopt online reservation systems quite quickly and connect through an API. Other countries struggle a little bit more, and Asia is a little bit far behind the rest of APAC, being Australia. So I see great opportunity in that, something we continue to work on.
So basically you're saying that there's still a lot of disconnection among the tour operators, the purveyors of the experiences.
Yep.
So what's the portfolio you have right now in Asia Pacific?
So I personally cover Southeast Asia, South Asia, and North Asia. North Asia for us includes Japan and South Korea. Mm-hmm. So not China, but a wide spread of destinations.
Right. How does last-minute experiences or last-minute bookings fit into this whole thing? Like, do you see a lot of last-minute bookings?
You see a lot of last-minute bookings for sure. Yeah, it's totally on the rise. So I think for Singapore recently, we looked at the time in advance that people were booking at 6 days. But if you're looking at an attraction or something like that, you can people are literally waking up in the morning and deciding what they want to do. It might be for the evening or going to Singapore Zoo or something like that. So yeah, we're seeing it on the rise.
Right. How about Parin? So I know Airbnb Experiences obviously has grown a lot. And then how about your newest categories? Like we heard recently there were animals added the category, and then earlier there were adventure. So are these the two growth areas that we have to watch out for?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if I get my crystal ball out for a minute, I think where we'll see this evolve is that people will look for more transformational travel. I recently interviewed a Chinese millennial guest who had taken 50 experiences on the platform in the last year.
50 experiences?
Yeah. And what she'd done was really interesting. She said she was kind of dissatisfied with her formal education system, and so was looking to build her own educational curriculum for herself. And she'd been doing that by going around the world and kind of, to the term, globally curious, assembling her own education system via Airbnb Experiences by trying different things in different places with different experts. So I can see a trend where people become almost a bit more, for want of a better word, selfish when they travel, and really focus on the passions that they're interested in, and really use some of the categories that we're building out, which we'll be building about one a month for the next few years, and really trying experiences in different categories.
Right. Okay, I see a question that's quite relevant. So earlier there was also a relevant question. So experiential travel seems to cater more to the individual FIT travel. So are there any opportunities for group travel here? Is it all about customizing to just one personal preference or a group of friends? Are there bigger synergy out there?
Okay.
Sorry, right.
Yeah, I can take it. Yeah, look, we're seeing varied group sizes. So certainly the early adopters might have been the individual traveler, but they'll tend to take their friends with them next time they go. They might take their family. And I think it really goes back to something we think is really important around belonging. So people are looking for belonging with the people that they're traveling with, but they're also looking to broaden their horizons and meet other people on the experience. And one of the things that we hear quite often from guests is sometimes they forget the activity that they did with the host, but they always remember the host because they had the opportunity to learn something new or see something that they hadn't seen before. So yes, maybe the initial adopter group was individual travelers, but I see this broadening into families for sure.
But then for Airbnb Experiences, that means it's very personality driven. It depends on the person. So how do you ensure, it's probably a question that a lot of you have out there, then how do you judge the quality of your host then?
So we put everyone through a very rigorous vetting process where we're looking for three things: insider access, human connection, and quality. And every time someone takes an experience, they leave a review about the host. So it's very transparent. If you go and look for an experience to book, you can see exactly what those reviews were. You can also see where the guest has come from, and typically the review will be written in various different languages, so you can find something that a guest from your country might have booked. So quality control is something that's very important for us, and as a result, over 90% of the experiences that we have today have been booked at higher than 5-star.
Mm-hmm. How about then? What are the opportunities for group travel then? Are there any opportunities there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say on average, the average order in Singapore would be about 2.2 people. So, but group travel itself, we have a department actually in Las Vegas, being a global company. We have Las Vegas actually in Manila as well. Group travel certainly happens. So yeah, I feel like the corporate, the meeting and events, they're wanting to travel deeper, get more out of their stay, and we get those orders for sure in Singapore as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So we have been talking a lot about the growth areas in terms of experiential travel. How about, are there any challenges here? What are the kind of learning points that you see in this segment? Dean, do you see any? What are the challenges that you face in terms of catering to the different needs and different customization of travelers?
Well, there's an old saying that you can't please all the people all the time, and whilst that might hold true, we really try to make sure we can please all of the customers all the time, and it is about that, being able to customize and personalize the experience. So, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge because, when you walk into a room, we're trying to make it as customized to the person's needs. Because we have kitchens in our rooms, we have the cooking equipment. We're trying to make sure that we have the right cooking equipment for what the customer may want to cook in his room, right? So I think that's always going to be a challenge because it's costly to completely change the dynamics of a room based on the customer. Again, we're lucky we have longer stays, so we can do that a little bit more. I think that one of the interesting things to one of the earlier points is I spend a lot of time in the US now, and it's interesting that there's a lot of pets traveling. You mentioned animals, but there's a lot of Americans like to travel with their service animal, and I think that's going to be I think we might see that happen in Asia a little bit more now that people may be traveling with animals, and that's always going to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Right. How about Parin? Kind of key challenges did you meet as Airbnb Experiences scale out in Asia Pacific?
Yeah, we just to give a bit of context, we started with 8 markets in Asia, and within 18 months we quickly scaled to 300 markets. And so obviously, as you kind of scale market by market, we've made a point that we want to do differentiated and high quality, but in reality that can be quite challenging to do. And so I think the way we've overcome this is we've put a lot of effort into localizing the platform, and even though we keep the standards really high, we want it to be possible for anyone to submit an experience. And so part of that has been trying to tap into existing communities that are offline and getting them to submit experiences and teach each other. And as a result of that, today what we do is we host community events in each place. So to give you a very specific example, we have a community of pro surfers in Bali who have kind of self-evolved on the platform and are really helping each other out to be successful. We have a number of cooking hosts in markets like Tokyo and Kyoto who have come up. And one of the ones that I'm kind of most excited about recently is we have a whole community of Korean artists who are associated with K-pop who have kind of blossomed by themselves organically and are helping each other out. So it's really this point of how do you put the tools in place and get existing communities that are offline excited so that they can come online and build businesses for themselves.
Right. How about Dan? I'm sure a lot of tour operators are still offline right now in Asia Pacific, from what I understand. It's a very fragmented industry. So what are the difficulties then in getting them on board your platform?
Yeah, look, I guess as TripAdvisor and having the reviews, the viewership that we have and the reviews, it's probably easier than some other people to get them on board. But of course, you've got to come up with a sales plan as well. And without sales, you're not really going to be having them on board for long. So for us, it's reasonably easy. But yes, for sure, we still have the people not wanting to be online. People are almost being worried that.
For what? Why do they not want to be online?
Just because. We have the big corporate companies, but also we have the smaller people as well that just have a fishing trip or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they're concerned that maybe a TripAdvisor will come along and suddenly they'll need to buy another boat, and they're not really ready for that. So we do have those kind of challenges, perhaps a little bit more from the older generation maybe. So really it's again down to us to educate them and to ensure that we can help them also with their inventory management as well to relieve them from any stresses of being worried that you might be overbooked or anything like that. And then that of course leaves them to really think about the great trips, the new trips that they want to concentrate on.
Right. So obviously technology has a very key role to play right now. I mean, technology has enabled the whole experiential travel to take off. Is that what you see, Dean?
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, because you have people that are traveling to some really exciting and maybe remote places and being able to post that online and the world seeing, where they've been and going, wow, that's really cool. I think that's certainly really fueled this whole experiential travel trend. Again, whenever you go to a restaurant, you see everybody taking photographs of their food and then posting online. Then that's just great marketing for all of the restaurants, all of the locations, all of the remote places that exist.
So what role does Google play here? Do you think Google is a competitor or are they a friend?
They're great. I mean, I was telling you earlier that I used Google to get here, and this morning I think being able to travel somewhere and as Parin said, you've got, he wants to find the Muay Thai center, and you just go on maps, you find where it is, you get there very quickly. Whereas before you probably had to plan that whole process. It just allows you to maximize your time and to experience much more than we ever had before. I think it's great. Technology is really a wonderful thing.
Right. What about anyone else have any to add? I mean, what's the role of technology here? Do you think Google is actually a competitor here, or do you think they are more of a friend? Because I understand that Google is also getting into the act of listing tours and experiences online as well, and you can start booking some of the tours, same-day tours together on Google. So are they becoming a threat in the near future?
Yeah, I think the wider point here is around access and discovery rather than any specific company. So right at the beginning, we talked about the fact that experiential travel has probably been around for a while, but the
Right.
tools are now in place for guests to discover, especially across a long tail of interest, something that really appeals to them. So I think anything that allows guests to use technology to find things that they might not have been able to find before or didn't even know existed is very, very powerful. I'll give you a really specific example, and one I like to quote quite a lot is I had the opportunity a few months ago to go to a guy's garden in Tokyo who had a bunch of samurai swords, and as part of this experience, we cut bamboo for an hour with a samurai sword. Now this is something I would not be able to find even if I searched on a search engine for it, but having browsed through some of the experiences that we have, it's something that kind of jumped out at me. And after looking at a quick video and looking at some of the reviews, I kind of instantly booked it and was doing it within hours. So it's really around discovering some of these niches. I think with categories, it'll be even more helpful for people to take their existing passions and discover them online. And then I think as more guests have great experiences and more hosts enjoy hosting these experiences, these categories will start to fuel themselves.
More category. Dan, like Google, role of Google, or actually you're more concerned about competition from other online, activities, OTAs like Klook, Traveloka, that has made a lot of inroads into this region.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started at Viator TripAdvisor 5 years ago, and to imagine that we have this, the competition that we have in Asia is incredible. But for Google, we would see them more as a partner at the moment. Of course, you just have to be wary of them, but yeah, we would see them more of a partner. Today, right now, you'd probably say that some other the competition would be more of a threat, and I think that would be around people lowering prices significantly almost below nets, which is a policy that we don't particularly go into. So, yeah, that would probably be more of a threat.
So those who are doing price undercutting here.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. So what kind of gaps or challenges do you still see in this sector then? Like, are there any areas that you wish that could be the plugs that could still be gap? That could be breach, rather, sorry. So yeah, are all players in the travel industry aware of what experiential travel is, or are there any particular players that you hope, for example, the airlines, or is it the car rental companies, or is it the NTOs, who should play a bigger role in understanding what experiential travel is? Do you still see any gaps?
Sitting here in Singapore, there's one comment I could very easily make is I think STB do a great job of really making Singapore very relevant. Certainly if you look around other parts of Asia, they're not in sync with exploring experiential travel quite as much. Mm-hmm. So Singapore's fantastic, but we can see other DMOs that don't have the same level of engagement. Product type wise, I mentioned multi-day travel a little bit earlier on. I feel that's an area of our platform that we should improve on. Just 2 years ago, I was covering New Zealand and I added a 18-day photography trip. Now, I wondered why I was wasting my time. But in actual fact, we got 4 bookings from it, and obviously with that 18 days, that's a significant margin. So the bookings are out there. People are even booking that kind of trip online. So.
Multi-day trips, yeah. So I think Parin probably have something to add to that multi-day trips. Yeah. Right now, I think what we can book online is probably just like same-day trips. And I know with Adventure, you have introduced the possibility of booking multi-day trips. So is that where you see where the gap is right now? Like being the ability to book, customized travel. Right now, what we see is pretty standardized travel in some sense that lasts for a couple of hours. But travel is a complex thing. What I want may be different from what you want. So how would technology help to bridge that? Do you see that coming?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points I'd make just on multi-day travel. I think one of the things we do a lot is listen to our guests and understand what they want, and we're able to then launch new categories that fit in line with what they want. But I think the probably something I'm more interested in is, a lot of us spend our time addicted to these devices, and we know that in society people are becoming increasingly isolated. They're becoming increasingly lonely. So I think the real magic of Airbnb Experiences in terms of on the product side is not necessarily the online product where you book the product, but it's actually the offline quality where you get to connect with a human being. And one area that we're really excited about is helping more members of society become economically active. So another experience I took recently in Seoul was a multi-generational family hosting an experience together where the grandma provided the kimchi recipe, the daughter of the grandma hosted the experience, and the daughter did all the marketing on Instagram. So the 3 of them were working together to provide this experience, and I think I really see experiences being a way that senior citizens across every market in Asia could become economically active again.
But then again, so would you say that, well, your Airbnb experiences are pretty intimate. So in order for the experiences to grow, do you have to scale up? Like, do you have to open up to a wider audience, like so-called your mass travelers? Do you foresee that coming for Airbnb experiences?
Well, I mean, we do. I think the biggest challenge right now is, a lot of the hosts that we have on our platform are not suppliers or tour operators. They're everyday people who have their own lives and they're hosting an experience. But what we're seeing is a large percentage of these people are having success on the platform and they're actually quitting their day job to become experience hosts full time. So I think we've still got a ton of opportunity to open up new markets as you get outside cities into rural areas. I think there's still a large sections of society who aren't familiar with Airbnb experiences and the fact that they can host. So I'm pretty optimistic that there's still a lot of opportunity ahead.
Right, okay. Let's take a question from the floor. I can see that a lot of people are interested in how the rise of experiential travel is having an impact on the cost of running a business. So how will you manage that to stay commercially viable? Who wants to take that? I mean, is that a key? I mean, how is that challenging your business?
Again, one of the things we've found is that obviously when people come on this experiential travel, that they want to experience the local food culture. So we're seeing more and more in our particular part of the industry that to move away from the restaurants that you have in the property, because people just want to get out there and eat and experience. So for us, it's possibly a cost advantage to us because it's expensive to run a restaurant in any property. So we're seeing that certainly it's good for us. We can be more focused on the customer experience in the property rather than having to provide food and beverage all the time.
So that means you're actually putting less focus on F&B.
We're putting
and
less focus on
outsourcing it to others.
That's right.
Right. That's what the whole part of the experience.
That's right.
Right. Dan or Parin?
For us, we have a marketplace model, so it's really up to the hosts to set their price. But right now on the platform, you could book a $5 street food tour in Ho Chi Minh, or you could book a $500 experience in San Francisco where you get to dress up as a mermaid for a day. So we have such a wide range, and really the goal for us is to open up the platform so as many hosts have this opportunity to host.
Mm-hmm.
So the parent does the fighting rather than the mermaid costume.
So great, experiential travel's on the rise, so we're doing really well.
So that's a key core part of your business, huh?
Yeah, it's what we do. So again, similar to Parin, we obviously offer a wide range of price trips as well. So anyone wanted to book a tour at different ranges can do so.
Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of us must be dying to know that, what's next after experiential travel. We have talked a lot about experiential travel. So is it here to stay? I mean, probably, but what will we see next? What do you think? Like for example, Dean, I mean, one thing I've been curious about is for the service apartment industry. I mean, like we heard a lot about co-living, co-working. Is that a trend next?
Co-living is another great label we've put on backpackers and hostels and kibbutzes and communes. I mean, co-living, look, we're not exploring that so much these days. There is certainly a market there, but we're not focusing a lot of our attention on co-living. The communal spaces we do like because that is a way for guests to interact, and again because we have the longer stay guests, they don't want to necessarily be confined to their room. So I think the communal spaces are really important for us, but the co-living.
But communal spaces, we always have that in hotels. I mean, it has always existed. So how is that different right now?
It's always existed. I keep saying that we love labeling things, and I think that's great. I mean, it gives the marketing people some more things to do.
So you're still sticking by your standard. All this is a marketing fluff. That's all.
All is a marketing play. But right. To your point about where travel is going, I'm very excited, not necessarily for my industry, but I like the whole slow travel concept about trying to shift a lot of the business out of the great cities that are being just maybe destroyed by the mass tourism that's happening, like the likes of Venice and some of those remote places. I think slow travel is something as an industry we should probably encourage.
Mm-hmm. Slow travel. But Parin, what do you think slow travel? I mean, if we do slow travel, obviously we have to probably go into like more remote places, off the beaten tracks. But is that kind of also bring tourist numbers or bring visitors to places that may not be able to cope with the numbers?
For me, it's more about a more equitable distribution of the opportunity, the travel opportunity. So one of the things we saw recently in the Rugby World Cup in Japan is people were traveling to the main urban cores, but then they were also taking, say, a 24 or 48-hour trip out to stay somewhere unique, try some experiences that are fairly unique that they wouldn't have access to. So I think probably the thing that excites me most is this opportunity for more people to benefit from global travel.
I like the idea of people travelling more out of season as well. Covering New Zealand previously, to see New Zealand grow on the shoulder seasons has been amazing. They've really made a big play on that, and they've done very well. I think we also have to explore a lot more the sustainable travel as well. I think for a lot of people it's still just a word. So there's a lot more that we need to do on that, and I think that's the exciting thing that we can give to perhaps other countries and make them learn about single-use plastics and everything like that.
So what do you mean by sustainable travel? Are you trying to feature more on TripAdvisor Experiences?
For sure, yeah, absolutely. I think this is what the customer wants. So yes, well, we do want more of it, and when we do have it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
One of the categories that we launched right at the beginning was social impact. So we're seeing this increasing trend where people are traveling, they want something unique and differentiated, but they also want something with purpose. And so we're seeing a lot of guests want to go and work with a charity or an NGO, learn more about what that NGO is doing, and support them in a way by sometimes volunteering. And on our side, what we do is we waive all the commission for these organizations, so they take 100% of the revenues.
Right, so it's also about being fair to the local hosts and being to the local community. So it seems like, one of the questions that pop up, it seems like barriers to entry are very low. How are you playing fair and acceding to local regulations then? And how are you ensuring hosts are licensed for the experience? I'm sure this is a question that a lot of you are dying to ask. Yeah, because I'm quite sure in not all the markets that you operate in, Parin, that they are, the hosts are, we need the guides to be licensed for some of the markets. So in markets where, these are not regulated, how do you overcome that? Can everyone become hosts? Then how do you overcome the regulatory challenge? How do you stay legal then?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I mentioned earlier that every single experience that goes on the platform is vetted, and one of the things that we vet for is around regulation and licenses, etc. So that's very important to us. Only about 20% of the submissions that we get actually go live, and so we keep that bar really, really high. But I think the bigger opportunity here is to partner with some of the DMOs around the region. We've started doing some things I won't share too broadly today, but really building out these categories in specific locations with DMOs to create really interesting experiences.
So are there any examples where, the activities that they suggest are outright, a no to Airbnb? Any funny examples or any interesting examples that, whatever experience that the host wanted to do, to engage in, is right out? Is something that you wouldn't accept? And any good examples or funny examples there? Like any kind of experience?
I'll probably save the funny examples for a smaller one-to-one audience. I won't share too broadly today, but I think the main message here is really it's around partnering with each of the local organizations and really understanding what people want. So
no out-of-the-world experiences that someone wanted to host and then you said no to?
Well, we have these vetting standards, as I mentioned, so as part of that, we kind of keep an eye on what's going on.
Yep, we've seen some of them, but they don't last very long. The difference between the DMO standards, the country standards can range quite heavily, and that's obviously one of the challenges to a business when you're trying to scale the suppliers that you have. But similarly, we also vet our operators, and they would need to have an SB license and an insurance policy as well. There is products can go live first and then it's kind of deactivated soon after. So there's a bit of a week grace there. So it can happen, but it's one of the challenges of business to scale and have these different certifications. On the product side again as well, we recently announced that we were banning dolphin and whale pens
in captivity, right? The animals.
Thank you. So that's something that we've recently done. We've also we started this new policy about 2 years ago. So anything with riding with elephants or anything like that is also banned as well. So yeah, we look
Right.
after.
So you're responding to what the customers want. So you're hearing a lot that they don't want to watch. They want to see animals in captivity. Right. I mean, that's good.
Right.
So what are the examples then? I mean, that you have been showing. I mean, responding to customers' preferences. Which other areas are they showing, or what kind of tours then are they actually most interested in?
So I think that we would again go back to the topics we've really spoken about before. So culinary is a massive mover for us. We're in triple figure growth at the moment. Historical tours as well, private guiding is very much up for us. Those going back to sustainable products as well, that's a question that we get from consumers as well. So they're the kind of hot products.
Right. Okay. So let's have a look at experiential, and it goes to personalization. Would you all agree? I guess so. Probably. So how far then should a business go to fulfill guest needs? Is there a guideline or benchmark or best practice? Like, do you want to continue, Dan?
Yeah, so well, absolutely. So on our site, you can do a tour, you can do a private guide, or you can literally book someone for the day to show you around. So that's the kind of personalization degree that we would go down to. Yeah.
Right. So for tours, that means that are offered on TripAdvisor Experiences, are they customizable? Or do you get what you see? I mean, can you adjust it for your liking then?
Yep, they can be. If you've got a private guide, you can adjust the day as you want to see it. Yeah, not in every case. Not everyone offers that, but there's certainly some suppliers that do offer it.
But do you see that growing among the people who are booking? Are they always asking for some kind of, can I make this, can I do that?
It's certainly not always, but I do see it's going to be a growing request. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right. How about Dean?
How far should we go? We should go as far as we possibly can. It's the industry we're in, is to look after our guests and give them whatever they want. So as long as we can do it legitimately and efficiently and meet their expectations or exceed their expectations, we should go as much as we can. It helps the whole industry if a guest is having a great experience. So
right. Do you have any
all in
examples of
I mean, everything. Like I said,
what are the lengths would you go to fulfill customers' needs?
If we had, for example, guests came in and said he's staying for 3 months and he wants all the furniture out and wants to put a sustainable bamboo bed linen in there, we would do whatever we can to make it. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of cost and time, but if we can do it, we certainly will. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we introduced the cocktail trolley that goes to the guest's room rather than the guests going to our club lounge these days, because we some guests just want to actually stay in their room and they don't want to go up into the room where there's some sweaty cheese on the buffet and some bad Chardonnay. So we take that experience to the guests because that's what they want. They want us to be personalized.
Right. Okay. We will take one more question from the floor, and then we will more or less wrap up this session. So, how can Singapore actually stand out from neighboring cities that are growing in tourism? I'm quite sure a lot of you want to know that because we have a lot of operators from Singapore right here. So how can Singapore still stand out? Any takers? I mean, we have a lot of regional cities who are also growing tourism forces.
Sure, it's a very competitive area. I personally think Singapore are doing a really good job in making all the museums and tours and food tours and culinary experiences pretty unique. So I think Singapore's doing a really good job. I see a massive change coming from England. Singapore used to be deemed as a stopover destination. It's not that anymore. People are staying here for 7 nights or maybe 2 weeks.
Wow, so people actually stay that long in Singapore.
I think Singapore's done a great job in transforming itself.
So Parin, what does Singapore need now? Do we still need another jewel or another Merlion?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Dan's points. I think the real opportunity here is to allow locals to showcase the city that they're proud of and where they live, and help other people understand what it is that they're proud of and why. So I think that's the really big opportunity here, is for local people to host really interesting activities where they have a specific passion or a specific expertise, and let the world understand more about Singapore.
Mm-hmm. Dean, any take on that? What's your take?
I guess in our industry, we are in an industry that's licensed a little bit about the length of stay a customer can stay in our properties. We'd like to see some relaxation of that makes it easier for customers to maybe to stay 3 or 4 days in our category of assets. So.
Right, for the service apartment.
For the service
That means shortening the stay.
Shortening the stay,
right.
level the playing field a little.
Mm-hmm. So that you can compete with Airbnb better.
No, we use Airbnb. We put our inventory on Airbnb. We like them. They're friends.
Okay. Last but not least, okay, I'm going to wrap up this session, but let's have a view. What do you think will? Let's do another poll again. So 2020 is coming. So what do you think will be the? Can I have? Okay. So what trend do you think will shape experiential travel in 2020? Of course, these are just some of the quick trends, but of course these are not exhaustive. So you can see. So can we have a quick vote and see, what will you think will be the greatest force next year? So while we are waiting, how about our panelists? What's your take on that? 2020, let's do a bit of crystal ball gazing.
I think sustainable travel will always be a trending travel trend, but I would love to see the slow travel. I think we owe it to ourselves in the industry to try to promote move some of the business away from some of the cities that are just getting hammered at the moment.
Too crowded, right? Yeah. Parin, what's your take? What's going to be the hottest trend next year?
Yeah, I'd say all of the above. I see each of these as different categories that people are interested in. I think there's an opportunity for hosts to provide something differentiated and really interesting in each of these categories. So we're excited to build these out over the next couple of years.
Can you Parin, so what's the next category that you'll be introducing next for Airbnb experiences? We have animals, we have adventure, what's next?
Yeah, I won't go into too many specific details, but let's say it's coming up to lunchtime soon, and it might be related to food and drink.
Good excuse.
I'll go sustainable travel. I think slow travel is reasonably similar as well, getting people to travel at better times as well. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So from the audience, you can see that it's obviously sustainable travel. So it's something that we cannot ignore, just like climate change. All right. With this, can we have a round of applause for our esteemed panelists today? Thank you so much. All right, and I will just pass the mic over to Soon Hwa.
Well, thank you. Now, very quickly, 2 hours of very interesting exchange and insights. Now, I wish we had more time. As you can see, so many questions, and yet we couldn't really have the time to answer them all. Now, first, let me just thank our panelists for coming here, our moderators. Now, we take this session very seriously, so we ask for feedback, right? Because we've got to do what is good for you. And Andrew is also very concerned about feedback. So he has very kindly consented to do this for us. When he was doing his presentation, fantastic slides and all that, those are worth a lot of money. So when we ask you for feedback, which you will receive in a couple of days, when you provide your feedback response, you can check to say that you want a copy, a PDF copy of Andrew's presentation up there. How about that? Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Right? Yeah. This is from The Economist. You can send it to your bosses. Authoritative source. So in terms of ROI, I hope we have met your ROI. We will always seek to improve. This is a quarterly series. So the next one is going to be sometime in Feb. If the timing allows, we would like to do that just immediately after the air show. Right? For those of you who are familiar, we have a big air show. And one of the topics, if not the only topic that we want to focus on for the next round, is in aviation in the Asia Pacific. Because we are going to get so many of the big bosses, the big names in aviation will be in town. So we want to leverage on that. So immediately after that, we hope we can do the next series. Now, where the venue is, we are not sure. We hope that if any one of you are interested in hosting, let us know. We are exploring. Perhaps Singapore River One could be one of the venues, or even the Jewel, right? The Jewel. Many of you have been there just to see the vortex, but I'm sure there's a lot more. So just stay tuned. We will let you know the details of the next events. Now, lunchtime, someone asked if there's lunch. I have to disappoint you. We did not cater for lunch. We want to do this on a no-frill basis. So Pata is taking this initiative. We are not charging anybody for the attendance. There is some cost on our part, but we are happy to do that. But lunch, I think, is just a little bit beyond our budget. But the hotel is nice, right? Our venue sponsor, One Farrer, is extending a 30% discount if you like to have lunch at the restaurant here called The Escape, right? A great restaurant, so 30% is not bad, right? With that, I think we will end the formal part of this series. Thank you again, every single one of you, for investing your morning with us. I truly, truly hope you have taken away something valuable for this morning. And do support us, look out for the next one, and sign up. Thank you very much.